Hey, what up, Dodgers Nation? Doug McCain here. You can follow me on Twitter and Instagram at DMAC_LA. We've got an update on why the Dodgers ultimately decided to release Trevor Bauer. We have some comments from Andrew Friedman and Stan Kasten. We're going to dive into that in just a second. But quick reminder for all the latest Dodgers news and rumors all season long, be sure to hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell, and if you really want to support the channel, smash that like button. And as always, I want your takes down below in the comments section. Today's Dodgers Nation question of the day: what are your thoughts on Andrew Friedman and Stan Kasten's comments on their decision to DFA Trevor Bauer? Do you still support the decision? Think it was the right decision, the wrong decision? I want all your takes down below. And for all the latest Dodgers news, head over to DodgersNation.com. So the Dodgers front office has broken their silence on their decision to release Trevor Bauer. Andrew Friedman and Stan Kasten, they spoke to reporters this week, and The Athletic wrote a piece about it. And in the piece, Andrew Friedman had this to say about the club's decision. Friedman said, "With the way that things transpired, we feel good about our decision to move on. Most of what we know came from the fact that the commissioner's office and the independent arbitrator reviewed all the aspects of the case and found him to be in violation of the policy. As we went through that was enough for us." So really what it came down to for the Dodgers is, even though that suspension was reduced from 324 games to 194 games, even though they reinstated him, it still went down as the biggest suspension in the policy's history. So the Dodgers could not get past that, and it said in the piece that the Dodgers talk with players, they talk with coaches, they talk with people in the organization, that they even talk to fans to gauge whether or not they should bring Trevor Bauer back. And ultimately, they decided not to. And I think it is important to note that Trevor Bauer has vehemently denied any wrongdoing in this situation, and he has denied all these allegations. He was never charged, but I think it's important to remember that this isn't a legal matter. This is Major League Baseball, who conducted their own investigation, and based on their findings, which the Dodgers are not even privy to that information, they determined that he was in violation. And look, the reality is that due to confidentiality agreements, that we'll never find out Major League Baseball's findings. So I think the next big question is, why did it take the Dodgers so long to make their decision? Well, one, it's the Dodgers. They are going to do their due diligence. Were they possibly exploring some trade partners where the Dodgers might have to attach some prospects to try to get out from underneath that $22.5 million that they are going to owe them this season? Were they trying to find any sort of financial relief? That's a possibility. Also, another big factor was the date that the initial news came out. It happened on the same day that the Dodgers were closing their offices for the holidays. So you didn't have people in the office that were going to put in that work to make this decision. It was going to require some time, considering how massive not only a decision it was from an organizational standpoint, a roster standpoint, but also a public relations standpoint, how the Dodgers were going to ultimately handle this. And then finally, how strongly were the Dodgers considering actually reinstating Trevor Bauer and having him pitch for them again this season? Because there are conflicting reports, first coming from Trevor Bauer, who immediately after the decision was made, he said that the Dodgers were considering bringing him back. It reads in the article, after he was officially released by the Dodgers on January 6th, Bauer said he met with Dodgers leadership on January 5th with the organization allegedly telling him they wanted me to return and pitch for the team this year. A Dodgers official not authorized to speak publicly told The Athletic on January 6th that Bauer's claim about the Dodgers' message in that meeting was false. Now, I'll tell you from my sources that that meeting did take place. Now, as to whether the Dodgers made that offer to him or they had that agreement in place that Trevor Bauer was going to be back for the team or they wanted to be back for the team, that's still unclear. And now this is complete speculation, but my guess, my read on this situation is, if the Dodgers ever were considering bringing Trevor Bauer back, which I think there is a chance that they were, they most likely told Trevor Bauer, hey, if you want to be back for the Dodgers, you're going to have to issue an apology. You're going to have to show some remorse. You're going to have to do some things that will help us spin this from a PR standpoint, because we can't just bring you back and reinstate you and have you vehemently deny any wrongdoing. We saw what the Dodgers did with Julio Urias a few years ago, where he issued a statement, an apology. It was very calculated. It was very polished, and maybe the Dodgers wanted something something similar to that to bring Trevor Bauer back. And Trevor Bauer, knowing the guy he is and knowing the fact that he has denied all these allegations, probably said, no, why would I apologize or show remorse for something that I'm still saying that I did not do? So that to me would be my guess on the situation. Like I said, that's complete speculation. But Dodgers president and CEO Stan Kasten, he had this to say about Trevor Bauer's claims. I'm not going to get into contradicting or agreeing with anything about what was supposed to be a private conversation, adding that while the organization hadn't made a final decision prior to the meeting with Bauer, we all had a strong feeling all the way through the process of the right way to handle this. We had the time to check all our bases, get all the input you could get to make a decision. We feel we did make the right decision, unanimous among the people that are charged with having to make this decision. It also said that the decision was made shortly after the meeting took place. So my read again is that the Dodgers could not get close to getting on the same page with Trevor Bauer on a plan to bring him back and reinstate him to the Dodgers. It does feel like they were considering it, and I think that based on some of their comments after the fact, they're making it seem that, oh, we were never going to bring him back and that sort of thing. But I do think there was a path to get Bauer back on the Dodgers. It just these two sides could not find a partnership, an agreement, and a way and a strategy to try to bring him back, to try to ease some of the fans that would have an issue with it, or some of the players or some of the executives. So it just wasn't going to work out unless Trevor Bauer was going to agree to some sort of apology, and we know he was never going to do that because he was vehemently denying any allegations. So this thing was just never going to work out. These two sides were never going to find a way because we know the Dodgers, they're not going to want to deal with all those difficult questions to just bring him back and have him not show any remorse or issue a contrite apology or anything like that. And of course, Trevor Bauer is not going to do that because he doesn't feel like he's done anything wrong in this situation. So that's not even an opinion. That's just my objective read on the situation between the two sides. And the other big question this offseason is how big of a factor was the Trevor Bauer situation financially to what the Dodgers did or did not do this offseason. It said in the piece, I don't think it impacted what we either did or attempted to do this offseason, Friedman said, noting there were some, quote, aggressive moves the Dodgers discussed, but nothing never materialized. The Dodgers had no plans of trading off the big league roster to get under the luxury tax threshold, Friedman said. So some of the big takeaways from that are, one, them continuing to claim that the Trevor Bauer drama, the Trevor Bauer $22.5 million that they were on the hook for, didn't impact their offseason spending. And to an extent, I definitely agree with that. I don't think the Dodgers were in love with any of these players. I think the market was outrageous. And if you're surprised that the Dodgers didn't go and sign a Trey Turner or go out there and sign a Carlos Correa or any of these big name free agents, a Dansby Swanson, then I don't know what team you've been watching for the last few seasons, because they haven't been early big spenders. When they signed Freddie Freeman, it happened in March when he fell into their lap. And look, let's be honest, I love having Freddie Freeman in Dodger blue, but if the Braves offer him the kind of contract that he was after, he'd be in Atlanta right now. And then you look at the Mookie Betts signing. That came after they had made the trade for him. They had exclusive negotiations with him, and they locked him up to a 12-year, $365 million contract before opening day in 2020. So when have the Dodgers ever been early big spenders? When do they ever operate at the top of the market and get into bidding wars for players? They don't typically do that. That is not how this organization has operated under Andrew Friedman. So to me, it didn't come as a surprise at all, and that's why I didn't predict one of these big free agents to sign with the Dodgers. I pretty much was chalk and correctly predicted most of where they would sign, but I didn't say that any of them would be in Los Angeles. And I also think the Dodgers are keeping their eyes on next offseason where they can sign Shohei Ohtani. That has always been the signing. They've kept all their chips for him. Their prospects are intact. Financially, it's going to cost an arm and a leg. There's no question about it. 2 arms, 2 legs, whatever you want to call it for Shohei Ohtani. But at the end of the day, this Dodger team is not going to cut salary from this year's team. They're not going to look to trade a Chris Taylor or a Max Muncy or even a Blake Trinan, who they would have to attach some elite prospects just to get that $8 million off their books. They're not going to do that because the $22.5 million is too significant of an amount. The Dodgers are too close to that $233 million threshold. They're basically at $236 million at the moment. And look, these executives, they always say that these projections that people have, that they're usually off, and they calculate these numbers at the end of the season anyway. So if you were in fear that the Dodgers were going to try to move some big league talent and hurt their chances this year. That isn't going to happen. How would that sit with Mookie Betts and Freddie Freeman and Clayton Kershaw and some of these veterans out there that the Dodgers were going to scale back when you consider the fact that they led Major League Baseball in revenue and attendance last season? This team makes over $500 million a year in revenue. That was never going to happen. So for the people out there that think the Dodgers are going to look to cut salary, just stop with that. It is not going to happen. But it's a very interesting story, and really when it comes to Trevor Bauer and his next team, there hasn't been much traction with him signing with another team. Hasn't been very many legitimate rumors that are linking him to certain teams, but we'll see. Will he get an opportunity? Because at the end of the day, it's going to cost a team $720,000, a league minimum, to get a Cy Young Award-winning pitcher and a pitcher that can help a lot of rotations out there. So we'll see if other teams want to deal with the Bauer baggage and what comes from it. We'll see how teams adjust during the year. Maybe you look to bring him on during the season when it's already in motion. Maybe you lose some guys due to injury or things like that. But at the moment, it doesn't seem like there's many teams out there interested in signing Trevor Bauer. The market isn't very